So the next thing I look for when I go into these parses is going to be looking at the broad encounters and trash. And the idea is there's always going to be people that really bust themselves on the bosses, but then they just kind of fall asleep on trash. They're going to somewhat auto attack, they might follow their whatever. And that's going to be something that I'm really going to want to hound, again, those particularly in my hunter pool as to what is going on. How can we step up? I'm always looking for ways to be at the top of my game, and that includes on trash. And that might sound really silly. I'm not here to try and pad the numbers. I want to be awake. I want to be trying. If I'm not trying, I'm not really going to enjoy myself. So I'm going to push during trash to do well. And in any packs, end up having again a bunch of critters that we're going to have to AoE. Typically, your mages should all be up here, but of course, then you always get to look down and see, are there mages that are not? Are they casting fewer arcane explosions? Are they just lying on the ground dead 8 times over the course of the night? What's going on? That gives you that layer of perspective in regards, again, to your own class. And again, if we end up, let's say, pulling an average DPS up here towards the top that's somewhere around 300, if we have someone that's way down here doing 100 damage, right? If you're DPS, well, there's probably a big issue. Either you have no capability of AoE, which even our rogues are still way up here and they don't have much AoE, or something else is going on. Maybe you're a brand new raider, maybe you don't have the gear, whatever it be. But if you are basically on a similar level to one another, you should do generally the same level of DPS. So for me, I end up comparing, where are all the hunters? Are we within about 100 DPS of each other? If so, of course, that allows for variation. Someone might not be feeling as well. Someone might be a little bit geared. Someone might be a try-hard, whatever it be. We should all be within 100 DPS. That's pretty realistic. If that's not the case, then there's, of course, room for growth. What's going on? Are you typically not, in our case, going to be casting multi-shot? Are you trying to, just auto-shot your way into things? As ever, if there's someone who's going to be above me, I want to know, well, what are you doing? How are you doing better over these nights? I want to know. I want to grow. And so that's how I'm going to end up having that kind of that first glance beyond the rankings. The next thing I'll look at is the actual individual fights. And these I'm informed to a degree by the rankings. How did all of the hunters do in comparison to one another for a given fight? So if I look at actually Razor Gore, of course, we're going to end up having all these numbers. And you see Seijo and I neck and neck. Adeline's just a little bit lower down here, but this is still going to allow us a realm of comparing one to the other. And Adeline's right here, I'll say straight up, Adeline does not have the best in slot crossbow. The rest of us do. So the DPS will be lower for Adeline, but I also know Adeline has a faster weapon. So the auto shots from Adeline should be at least on par, if not more, than the rest of us. So what I would do for a fight like this, again, it's a short fight, it's bursty, your crits, if you crit high over a minute, guess what? You're going to have a high parse. If you don't crit, guess what? That's going to suck. This is a fight that really stands out in that regards, those bursty numbers. So you can't really trust just the numbers. You have to go into the details of what did people do. So I'll often go on to look at what is the damage done, and I'll select specific abilities for my class. So for example, auto shot is a hunter-only class, or a hunter-only ability. This immediately allows me to see the 3 different hunters in terms of what did they do with auto shot. And what I'll often be looking at is how many casts off did we get? Look, all of us have about the same number of casts. That's pretty good. Again, these crit percentages, I don't care because this is not going to help us improve. These number of casts do. If we had someone who got 22 casts off, clearly they're doing something way better than the rest of us. And if someone had 9 or 10 casts, then they're really not paying attention and we need to talk. So this is a way for me to have that kind of breakdown of just your auto shots, which you don't have too much control over outside of the fact that you're going to be casting aim shot and basically sitting still. Of course, other things for hunters, our other 2 main things that we're going to use are aim shot, which again, we have the same number of casts, and our multi-shot. So again, this allows me to do a comparison within my class as to who is doing however many casts per fight, and that allows me to genuinely compare one to the other. So that's how I end up using kind of this basic breakdown for the particular boss for my class to see who's doing what at what time.